Morning, y'all. Welcome to the first official episode of Teddy Talks Trees. Super excited to have you guys with me here today to look at a day in the life of a consulting arborist. So I'm a ground guy. All I do is look at trees. I don't climb up in them, but I do take a look at their health and diagnose health issues. And unfortunately, sometimes we got to take them down. But I wanted to give you a day in the life here. This is my mobile office. Got my kids' seats back there too, of course. Nice skylight here, keep the sun coming in. And, I love living out of this truck, driving all day, looking at trees. So let's jump into it all. Come on. So yeah, here we are, beautiful middle America. Let's take a walk back here and take a look at this tree. This client called me about a Corkscrew Willow, pretty unique tree. I love these trees, but they do suffer a lot from different types of weather. So let's take a look. Nice Japanese maple right there. Look at this big guy. Pretty unique tree here. So it's not your typical weeping willow. It's called a corkscrew for one big reason here. You can see some of the branches kind of corkscrew around into this kind of like twisty straw type look. Pretty cool branch structure to these guys. Even some of their larger branches start to corkscrew out. The reason for the call today, though, was because this tree lost some main dominant leaders, which is pretty concerning for a tree when we lose primary leads. What that indicates is that the tree is going into what's called retrenchment, which means some of the roots have died back. Anything that's going on typically above the ground is indicative of what's going on below the ground in the root system. So the tree has lost some of its root system due to most likely drought and heat stress. In the past couple of years, we had a ton of rain this year, and that rain combined with the loss of root structure a lot of times leads to root rot, and that root rot leads to decline in the primary leads of the tree because the tree is trying to almost self-prune to allow itself to distribute energy better. So you can see here as well in the canopy, there's some tip dieback, which is these, some of these little tips that are dying back and some browning on the leaves. If you look closer at the tip here, you can see some of these dead, dying leaves, as well as some fungal issues indicated by these brown spots. I'm not as concerned about the fungal issues right now. While it is a concern, it's much more important to just build the health. The International Society of Arboriculture says building the health of the tree is the most important. Similar to humans, in many cases, it's, build the health, you'll stay healthy and less susceptible to disease. So in this tree, my recommendation would be to prune it, get out the dead wood, allow it to redistribute nutrients effectively to the healthy stems that we leave. And then we go down to the roots and deep root feed them, the root of the cause. You can see down here some of the branches that have dropped, other leaves kind of everywhere along the ground. I don't like to see the leaves dropping, even though we're starting to get into fall here. It's a little early. I'd like to be able to see the tree hold on to these leaves longer. And I think the deep root feeding, I know the deep root feeding as well as pruning is going to help. We'll do two types of deep root feeding. One would be a macronutrient fertilizer, which gives it macronutrients, micros, kind of like what you'd put on the ground for your grass, but on steroids, delivered deep into the ground with this blunt tip probe that we pressurize at 200 psi in a feeding truck, and then we come back here with a hose and almost like a essentially like a pressure washer probe that goes down into the ground and just blasts liquid nutrients into the ground, breaks up soil compaction, aerates, hydrates, feeds at the same time. Pretty cool way of feeding, and it's really the gold standard of feeding trees. So one would be the macronutrients that we pump into the ground. We'd come back a second time with a different mix in the truck that's an organic solution. So it's mixed with seaweed extracts and humectants, which is it's essentially decayed organic matter, or similar, that we would push into this mix with the seaweed extracts, and that is more for soil conditioning or reculturing of the soil. The main issue with, I could go deep on this, pretty much everything is our soil environment. So the soil is our biological filter for our planet. Mycelium is under the ground, which is fungal networks. They act as a filter to the water and the nutrients and all that stuff that sit underneath the ground. And the soil is essentially like the human gut. There's living microorganisms down there, bacteria, and they all work together to form this symbiotic relationship with the root systems of the trees. And if that is not healthy, which a lot of times it's just heavy clay and rock, especially in these new build neighborhoods where there are not as many trees, it's kind of a barren wasteland, so to speak. And we just need to get a lot of trees planted, reculture the soil, get more organics, that top layer there, and feed the heck out of these roots. So anyway, I'm going to put together a plan here, and we're going to get this tree back to health. Thank you all for coming out with me for another the first Teddy Talks Trees. See you next time.